to help with that. Laurel actually has an unusual background. She didn't start her career in home care. She started in a Fortune 500 company, and she was a business executive. And through her personal journey, she discovered meditation and mindfulness. And so a couple of years ago, she launched her consulting business with a focus specifically on mindfulness. And so that's with great pleasure that I am introducing to you Dr. Laurel Geise, and she's talking to us this afternoon about better care and for better outcome with mindful caring. Laurel, over to you. If you want to take over and share your screen.
Yes, let's do that here. And slideshow, just one moment. And let's see, can everyone see? Yes? Yes, can you see my slides now, Anne-Lise? I can't hear you. What happened there?
Because I unmuted myself. Yes, I can see your slides.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and I think that since I'm seeing, for me, when I'm looking at this screen, I'm actually seeing a video of myself and you and a couple others. It's kind of blocking the right side of the screen. Are you seeing the same thing?
Is it better now?
No, I think maybe
you can actually minimize if you hover around.
I can move it? Okay. I just want to make sure when we record it that, yeah, I'm going to actually, yeah, I'm going to have to minimize it. So can you do that for everyone so that they're not seeing, because what's going to happen, I think they may see the video on the side and not see the information on the screen. So that's my concern. Yeah, that's my concern.
So I'm going to be doing that, and since it's recording from my computer, we should be fine.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to say welcome, 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 welcome. I'm so excited to be here. And I want to thank Anne-Lise for inviting me to share mindful caring with you. Mindful caring, in a moment, you're about to discover what mindful caring is. And I'd like to ask, have you ever wondered what it would be like to be more productive at work and less stressed? Yeah. And have you ever wondered what it would be like to be able to attract and retain the best talent because you are the employer of choice? And have you ever wondered what it would be like to be able to give simple tools to your team that they could use every day to help them to deliver better care so we can improve patient outcomes? Yes. So welcome to Mindful Caring. So Mindful Caring is a company, and we help healthcare providers, specifically home healthcare providers, to implement a mindfulness at work program so you can deliver better quality care and improve patient outcomes. So you may be wondering, what is mindfulness? You've probably heard about mindfulness. It's been in the press a lot. It's on television. It's in social media. So what is mindfulness? So I like to use this definition from Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn from the University of Massachusetts Medical School. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way. All right, and write this down. On purpose, in the moment, without judgment. So paying attention in a particular way, on purpose. So what does that mean? That means that I'm focusing my attention where I want it to be in a very deliberate way. And in the moment, so in the moment is not thinking about what happened yesterday or last week or last year, and not projecting into the future. So not really thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. Because what we know from a psychological perspective is that when we think about the past, it's called ruminating if we think about the past, or if we project into the future, that creates anxiety and that creates stress, and it can create overwhelm. So we want to spend as much as our time possible in this moment right now, and without judgment. So without judgment is allowing situations and circumstances to unfold in front of you, and having the awareness that you can actually take that breath and choose a mindful response instead of reacting mindlessly. And we're going to talk about mindlessness in just a moment. Now, mindfulness is also known as situational awareness. Situational awareness. So being more aware of what's happening around you and what's happening within you. Okay, situational awareness. And this becomes very important when we're meeting with our patients, when we're serving our patients. So we're going to start today. I'm going to teach you a tool right up front on how to have a mindful meeting. So how many of you have meetings every day? Yes. So we can use a mindful meeting. And how we have a mindful meeting is this. We start by turning off our cell phones. You know, the cell phones right now, these mobile devices are terrific with all the technology that they have, but we've also learned that they're the largest distractor in our lives. Do you know how many times the average adult will unlock their phone in a day? 80 times. 80 times. That's how much you're being distracted by the mobile device. So during our time together, I'd like you to be very mindful and be with me here in this moment and focus your attention on purpose so that you can learn about mindfulness at work. So in order to do that, we're going to turn off our cell phone. So let's do that. Yes. And I'm going to invite you to sit up straight in your chair. And now I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. So closing our eyes and begin to focus your attention on your breath. Now, if it doesn't feel comfortable to close your eyes, you can go ahead and just shift your gaze to your hands in your lap or to look at the floor. So with your eyes closed or with your gaze shifted, I'm going to invite you to just begin to focus your attention on your breath. Sensing your breath as it comes in, feeling the expansion of the air in your lungs, feeling the exhalation. So not changing your breathing in any way, but just focusing your attention there. And with every breath, just being more focused in this moment. So letting go of what happened this morning and not worrying about what will happen this afternoon, but just being here with me right now. And we're going to practice just for a moment together. So again, just focus your attention here and sense your breath. And now we're going to set the intention of our meeting, set the intention of our time together. So today, we're going to learn about what mindfulness is. We're going to learn about the benefits of mindfulness. And we're also going to learn how mindfulness can help solve the challenges that we face today. So now when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to gently open your eyes. There you go. And bring your attention back to the room. Beautiful. Good job. So this is a very simple tool that you can use at the beginning of any meeting. It could be a meeting with your team. It could be a meeting with a client. It could be a meeting with a patient. Just taking a moment to bring your attention into this moment right here, right now. So pretty easy, right? Yes, it is. So who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, as Anne-Lise said in the introduction, I had a 30-year career in Fortune 500 companies. I was a global C-level executive. I was a chief compliance officer, and I was managing teams in North America and Europe, as well as India and Australia. And I had a very successful career. And I've also been a mindfulness trainer for over 20 years, teaching thousands and thousands of individuals just like you how to bring mindfulness practices into their daily life. I'm also the founder of the Geise Group, which is a consulting firm that specializes in mindfulness at work training. And I am the co-founder of Mindful Caring. And Mindful Caring specializes in healthcare and home healthcare and working with companies to help you to bring in training and mindfulness programs to actually change the culture of your organization. So would it be okay if I share a personal story with you? Yes? Thank you. So as I mentioned, I had a very successful career, 30 years, chief compliance officer. And one day I was sitting in my office, and this is the actual office building. And I began to feel this calling is the only way I can explain it, this longing that there was something else for me to do in my life, that there was another way for me to serve the greater good. And I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but this feeling became so strong. And I believe that your soul's calling is the answer to someone else's prayer. I believe that when you feel that longing, when you feel that calling, that there's someone who's praying for you to show up in their life, to provide the service that you have, to share the wisdom that you've learned, and to serve them in the way that only you can. So I picked up the telephone and I actually called my boss, who was in California at the time, and I gave my resignation, my notice. And I remember hanging up the phone, and I was equal parts excited because I knew there was something that I was going to be moving into, but I was also afraid because I wasn't sure exactly what that looked like. And as soon as I hung up the phone rang again, and I picked it up. And when I picked it up, it was my mother, and she was calling to let me know that my father had been taken to the hospital to have emergency surgery. And when I arrived at the hospital, the surgeon came out after the surgery, and he told us that although the surgery had gone well, there were complications, and that my father had a superbug and he had to be placed in isolation. And we weren't sure if he was going to survive because with the superbugs, they have to make specialized medicine just for that particular superbug. And I remember my mom and I going to the hospital every day and putting on all of the protective gear and visiting with my dad for just a few minutes. And he was in there, the days turned into weeks. And finally, thank goodness, he was well enough to come home. But here was the problem that we faced as a family, is that when he came home, he needed continual care. He needed these special antibiotics that were delivered every day, and he needed special care that I couldn't give to him, nor could my mother. So we had home health care came in, and I have to tell you that they not only saved my father's life, they saved my life and my mother's, because they took such great care of my father, and it took him several months to get better, but finally he did, and he's doing very well today. So after my father got well, we decided that I was going to move forward and start a new adventure in my life. Well, what happened was, sometimes what I've discovered is that we have to look backwards to see forwards. So how can I look back and see what the path has been in my life and connect those dots to move forward? And when I took a moment and I looked back, what I saw was a combination of business experience, 30 years of business leadership experience with 20 years of teaching mindfulness. And I brought them together. And you know, Mark Twain said the two greatest days of your life are the day that you are born and the day that you understand why. And it was that time in my life, it was that day that I understood why I was here, what that bigger purpose was. And that bigger purpose was to bring mindfulness into organizations, to help people to deal with stress and anxiety and overwhelm, and to, you know, have healthier hearts and lower their blood pressure and be more focused and more productive at the same time. and also lowering turnover and absenteeism. So I was so excited. As you can imagine, I went out and I started speaking across the country. And what I found, guess what? Can I share a secret with you? I found out that I wasn't a very good speaker. So I made the decision to invest in myself, and I took some professional speaker training, which helped me to be much better in delivering my message at Mindfulness at Work. And that's where I met my business partner, Steve the Hurricane Weiss. So Steve Weiss from Hurricane Marketing Enterprises. And Steve holds several boot camps every year. And he invited me to come and speak at one of his boot camps. So we had about 200 business owners of home health care companies. And I spoke on mindfulness. And after 90 minutes, we had a Q&A session. And I'll never forget this moment because people, the business owners kept saying to me, we want to bring this into home health care. How can we bring mindfulness into home health care? And how can you help us? How can you serve us? And I remember Steve standing out in the audience with the microphone, and I was up on stage, and we looked at each other and I was like, yes, we will do this. We will create a program that is specifically for home health care. And that was the origin of mindful caring. That's how this came into being. And I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed that I can share this with you here today. So mindful caring, helping you to implement mindfulness training and a mindfulness program to deliver better quality care and improve patient outcomes. So today I want to cover 3 steps to success. I want to start by talking about what is mindfulness, who's using it and why, who are the high-performing companies that are using mindfulness and what kind of results are they getting, and then third, mindful caring solutions. So let's repeat. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way. So on purpose, do you remember this? So on purpose, actually focusing my attention where I want it to be, when I want it to be there, and in the moment. So not thinking about the past or projecting into the future, but being right here, right now, and without judgment, allowing situations and circumstances to arise and being a mindful leader, being able to take that breath and choose a mindful response instead of reacting mindlessly. So I like to contrast mindfulness with mindlessness. So there was a Harvard study that came out. It was published in the Harvard Business Review. And in this study, they found that we spend 47% of our day, every one of us as a human being, in a state of mindlessness. So almost half our day is spent in a state of mindlessness. So what is mindlessness? Let me know if you've ever had this experience before. So how many of you have driven home from work and you arrive home and you can't remember how you got there, right? Type in the chat box, yes, yes, yes. I know we've all had this experience because we're human beings. And here we are in a state of mindlessness. So just think about that for a moment and what impact that would have and what impact it does have on your actions and your team's actions and your caregiver's actions when they are in that state of mindlessness, right? So with mindfulness, what we want to do is be more in the moment, less on autopilot, more aware, able to notice what's going on, enhancing our situational awareness. Now, why has mindfulness become so popular? I mean, it has literally just exploded over the last 5 years. And I know it's because of the science. It's because of the proven benefits based on scientific research. And there have been over 8,000 studies now on mindfulness and the benefits. And here's some of the benefits that I mentioned before. We know that with a daily mindfulness practice, we know that by practicing 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, consistently every day, we can reduce our stress, anxiety, overwhelm, reduce depression, insomnia, while at the same time improving our focus, enhancing our memory, and enhancing our relationships with simple tools like mindful listening and mindful conversations. We also know that by practicing mindfulness every day, it helps us to lower our blood pressure. That helps us to have a healthier heart, and it also boosts our immune system. And the scientific research has shown us that by practicing mindfulness, it helps to improve our performance. It helps to improve your productivity. So again, higher level of productivity with less stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. And it also helps to reduce absenteeism and turnover. And here's a chart that I pulled from the American Mindfulness Research Association. And this is interesting because take a look at this chart, and can you see, like, over the past 5 years, actually over the past 10, but the last 5 particularly, there's been a big escalation in the number of published research studies here in the United States. And last year alone, 842, almost 1,000 research studies on the efficacy of mindfulness. And this is why it has become so popular. It's the science, and it's the neuroscience, and specifically it's neuroplasticity. So how many of you have heard of neuroplasticity? Yes? Yes. So neuroplasticity is our ability to actually rewire our brains, to actually change the neurocircuitry in our brain using very simple practices. So I like to call mindfulness brain training. It's just like when you go to the gym to train your muscles. This is the same thing, but it's brain training. It's brain training with simple exercises to focus your attention where you want your attention to be focused. And what's really interesting about this is the latest research has told us that if we actually practice mindfulness 8 minutes a day for 8 weeks, we can measure the changes in your brain. Measure the changes in your brain, which is a good thing because our default neural network actually tends to be mindless, so not focused, and it also tends to be a bit negative from a worldview perspective. So what we know is that by practicing mindfulness every day, we can rewire our brain so that we're more focused, experience the benefits I shared with you, and actually be a little happier. Yes? So there's many different practices in mindfulness. There's open attention, there's open awareness, there's body scans, there are gratitude practices, there are compassion practices, right? More compassion for ourselves than others. But today, while I have time with you, I'd really like to share a focused attention practice. And the focused attention practice, in this particular one, the breath awareness practice, is really what helps us to rewire our brain. So, are you ready to learn this new practice? Yes? Okay, great. And before we learn the practice, I'd like to talk about the mechanics of breath awareness practice. So what's really going on during this 5 to 8 minutes that we're practicing every day? So we begin just like we did with our mindful meeting. We sit down, we get comfortable, and we sit up straight. And the reason that I suggest and recommend that you sit up straight is because when you do that, it signals to your body to pay attention. So I'm sitting up straight, and then I will close my eyes if that feels comfortable, or I can shift my gaze to my hands or the floor, okay? And I begin to follow my breath. I'm following my breath. Now, here's what's going to happen, and I can guarantee it's going to happen. There will be a distraction. So you're focusing on your breath, and all of a sudden, you're going to become aware of thoughts in your mind, or maybe an emotion in your body, or maybe even sounds in the environment around you. You know, it's interesting. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. So I can guarantee you that when you begin the practice, you're going to focus on your breath, and then you're going to start to have thoughts. But when you do, and here's the secret, when you become aware that you're not focusing on your breath, but rather you're thinking about thoughts in your mind, that's when we notice that distraction and we bring our attention back to our breath. So can you see this is a very simple practice? The mechanics are simple, but what's difficult is making it a daily practice, okay? So that's the challenge, and that's the challenge that I'm challenging you today, is we're gonna actually do this practice together. And in a moment, I'm gonna have you sit up in your chair. Now, let me get my timer here, because we're gonna do this together for 5 minutes, okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to have you sit up straight in your chair. Okay, very good. And I'm going to invite you now to focus on your breath. So close your eyes now and focus your attention, focus your awareness on your breath. And again, not changing the speed or the rhythm of your breathing in any way, but just to focus your attention on your breath.
Gloria.
So breathing in.
See what was going on.
Oh, somebody's not muted.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know, Anne-Lise, if you can mute everyone. Thank you. So we're sitting up straight in your chair, closing our eyes, focusing our awareness on our breath. And when thoughts begin to enter your mind, notice the thought, because they will happen, and then bring your attention back to your breath. And as you're focusing your attention on your breath, if your mind starts to wander, say, just go back to your breath. And we're going to try this together for 5 minutes. I'm going to keep track of the time. So there's nothing for you to do other than to relax, focus your attention on your breath, and enjoy your breath awareness practice.
Now, I tell you what Dora told her. She asked
And just be gentle with yourself. Whenever you become aware that you're not focusing your attention on your breath, just very gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Okay. And now, keeping your eyes closed, I'm going to invite you to very gently just move your head from side to side. There you go. Very gently bringing your awareness back into the room. And I know we carry a lot of stress in our neck and our shoulders, so you can go ahead and raise your shoulders if you wish, and then let them drop. Just letting go of some more stress. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. There, how was that? How did that feel? Good, right? So I want to say congratulations. Congratulations. You have successfully practiced mindfulness and your breath awareness practice, and you've started down the path of rewiring your brain. So I'm so excited for you, and I'm going to share with you that, 5 minutes a day, 8 minutes is better. 5 is good, 8 is better. Try this for 5 minutes a day, and let's see what changes happen in your life. So I want to talk about some high performing companies that are using mindfulness. And mindfulness at work actually got its start at Google. And Google was one of the very early adopters. They started in 2007, so 12 years ago. And they trained individuals as well as teams. And what they found was that when they trained in mindfulness, they found that they were less stressed and less anxious and less overwhelmed, and it helped to literally enhance their resilience to stress. They found that they were more focused, that they could focus where they wanted to, when they wanted to, and in working with teams, they found that they were calmer and more patient with their teammates. And using mindful listening techniques, they were better able to listen to their team members. So how does that sound, right? Yes. So Google, one of the first early adopters. And another early adopter was actually Aetna. And the Aetna program, Mindfulness at Work program, was started by their CEO. And they started around the same time. And Aetna has 50,000 employees. And as of a month ago, they've trained over 18,000 of their employees in this program. Now, the CEO at the time, Mark Bertolini, was the one that introduced this to the organization. And he was being asked by his board, why are you investing in this training? What's the return on investment, right? That's what business people are going to ask. What's the return on investment? So he brought in some scientists and researchers and documented what was happening with the people who had been trained in mindfulness. And they found that the productivity increased by 62 minutes a week. So more productivity every week increased. That actually equates to $3,000 of a productivity increase per year. And at the same time, they found that they were lowering the annual healthcare costs of their employees by $2,700. So a big impact by training their employees and having teams trained together. And Aetna is so committed to this, they actually have a chief mindfulness officer whose responsibility is to bring more and more people into the training program. And another big advocate for mindfulness is Dr. Robert Graham. And I met him in New York City several years ago. And he was working at Northwell Health. He was an emergency room surgeon. And here's what he told me. We started talking about compassion fatigue. And he told me that when we are emotionally exhausted, when we're physically exhausted, it leads to more errors, and it's impossible to be compassionate. And that's why there's so much compassion fatigue, is one of the challenges that we face today. And he told me, he said, if you care for yourself, you can give better care to others. And that always stuck with me. If you care for yourself, you can give better care to others. And Dr. Graham actually started, he is actually in charge of the resident program, and he started Mindful Moments. Oh, I'm having some feedback here. Somebody must not be muted. He actually started a mindful moment in the operating room. So imagine that before everyone starts surgery, they all take a mindful moment, just like we did in the beginning, just like we did in the mindful meeting. They take a moment, bring their awareness there, and then start the surgery. And he said that, mindfulness is a low-cost, time-efficient way to improve outcomes. So what we know is that by putting together a training program and having a mindfulness program where you can sustain the program, where you can help people to practice every day for their 5 or 8 minutes and continue to teach them new practices, that's what causes and that's what leads to the sustainable impact that we're looking for in our organizations. So now we've all had challenges at work, right? Have you ever felt like this at work? Yes. Yes, we all have. And even though this may make us giggle a little bit looking at this, because I myself have been on the floor in front of the file cabinets, these are very serious challenges that we are facing. And I believe that mindfulness can help to solve these challenges. And I would say number one is the compassion fatigue, as Dr. Graham was talking about, the cost of caring for others. You know, it's this physical and emotional exhaustion where our feelings of empathy and compassion are significantly reduced. There can be anxiety, overwhelm, irritability, anger, insomnia, and just overall poor work-life balance. And I know that mindfulness and mindfulness techniques and simple mindfulness tools can help to reduce compassion fatigue and help our caregivers. Another challenge that we're facing that Anne-Lise brought up in the very beginning was the recruiting and retaining of the best talent. And we know that that's becoming increasingly challenging for all of us. And I know that mindfulness and having a mindfulness at work program, specifically mindful caring, can help with that because it helps to make you the employer of choice. You're investing in training for your team, for your caregivers, and for your leaders to help them to have these benefits of mindfulness in the workplace and the shift in the culture. And this is a way that we can attract the best talent because we're actually offering this additional training that's above and beyond what anyone else is offering in the marketplace, and retaining the best talent because of the culture shift, because we're living mindfully and we're treating each other with compassion. And finally, situational awareness. So the cost of workplace injury. Remember when we talked about situational awareness, being more aware of what's going on outside of me and inside of me? So this is an OSHA report. And what's interesting about this is when you look at the rates of injury by industry, okay, the cost of workplace injuries, the highest rates of injuries are in hospitals and nursing. Okay, so that's where the injuries are occurring. That's where more mistakes are occurring. And it's all because what we know is 91% of workplace injuries are caused by mindlessness, not paying attention to what's going on. We know that to be true. And we also know, according to this report, that every injury that takes place has a direct cost of $38,000 to your organization. And that doesn't include the indirect costs of lost productivity, of finding someone to step in and help out, and any kind of damage that there may be. So when we think about it, situational awareness, think about the impact that it would make on your business if everyone was trained in mindfulness and they could be more situationally aware. So at the end of the day, I know that with mindful tools, giving these mindful tools, having a simple mindfulness toolkit can help you become the employer of choice and also become the provider of choice. And that's what we want. We want to become the employer of choice, and we want to be the provider of choice. And I want to share a business case with you. So this is a business case of a home health care owner and some of the challenges that they were facing. And I think we've talked about some of these today. We've talked about the high turnover. We've talked about how competitive it is in the market right now to really recruit the best team, low engagement, low employee satisfaction scores, okay, lack of caregiver self-care, compassion fatigue. We know that it's an epidemic out there. All of this creating conflict within and across the teams, and all of it ultimately leading to low client satisfaction scores. So I began working with this company, our team in Mindful Caring, and here was the decision that the owner made and some action steps that they took. they decided to invest in the mindful caring training for their organization. And this was for the leaders and owners and the office staff, as well as all the caregivers. They helped to establish a mindful caring program, which helped to roll out the training. And we also identified a mindful caring program manager. So someone who could dedicate maybe half an hour a day to supporting the team and supporting the practice. So leading the 5-minute mindful breath awareness practice, for example, that we learned, helping us to set up mindful zones in the organization where people could practice together. So maybe setting aside a conference room for 10 minutes, maybe twice a day, to help people to practice together, and also to have practice calls where people could call in and participate as part of the team in their mindful caring practice every day. We also integrated the training into the new hire process so that every person that came into the organization, this was mandatory training that they learned about mindfulness and mindfulness at work through mindful caring. And then once we trained everyone in the organization, we started seeing results. The owner went out and started giving mindful caring presentations in the community to attract and retain the best talent. Here's why we're different, and here's what's making a difference, not only to everyone in our company, but also to the patients, right? Having better outcomes. And they started promoting themselves as a mindful caring company. So here's what happens. They went ahead and completed their mindful company certification. So they could actually go out and say that they were certified. And here's what happens over the course of, and this was 8 months, we worked together for 8 months. They actually improved their employee satisfaction scores. The caregiver satisfaction scores went up to 95%, and they were about half of that when we started. And improved the client satisfaction scores, so up to 90%. So we saw a significant increase in the employee satisfaction and the caregiver satisfaction and the client satisfaction scores over the course of 8 months. What we also found was it improved employee retention, so the turnover rates dropped. We also experienced that the team relationships became much better. So everyone working together in the office and all the caregivers, and that the caregivers became better at self-care and more aware of how important self-care is for them to help them to manage that compassion fatigue. And all of this is leading to an increased engagement with their team members. And here's some feedback that they shared with me. So the owner and executives shared, during the day, using mindfulness practices, it resets my compass. I go from overwhelmed or challenged to feeling better emotional energy. And the administrative team manager, so this was actually their HR manager, said, I experience a sense of calm. I'm more in tune to my environment and surroundings, and I'm able to make more sound decisions. Now, this is interesting because what we know with mindfulness practice is we have the practice itself, like we take the breath awareness practice, and we know that that can help us to feel, more calm. But what happens is what is actually happening in our lives when we're not practicing. So with the consistent practice, we actually start to see changes in our own behavior, our own experience over time. So making more sound decisions. And here's some of the feedback from the caregivers. So one of the caregivers said, I practice when my mind starts to feel overcrowded with thoughts. Okay, so they become aware. So their attention, they've been practicing their mindfulness techniques, and they become aware that, oh, my mind is starting to become full. I'm starting to feel a little anxious and overwhelmed. I can practice for a few minutes and bring myself back to center. Another caregiver shared, helps me to focus on things that are happening in the moment. So again, here's a direct result of that situational awareness, of being more aware of what's going on in front of us as well as inside of us. Another caregiver shared, I can use mindful listening when my clients talk to me about their feelings. So again, using a very simple technique for a few minutes to connect with the clients, to connect with the patients. And finally, a caregiver shared, when I feel better about myself, I act with more patience and kindness. More patience and kindness. I think that's what it's about at the end of the day. So mindful caring, we know, provides us with a compassionate advantage. Okay, we know that as a business owner, we know mindfulness practices help to reduce stress, increase our focus, and help to enhance our ability to cultivate compassion, all helping our team to deliver better quality care. And at the same time, there's actually a competitive advantage, because we know that when people within an organization and when teams use mindfulness tools, it enhances productivity and focus. It lowers absenteeism and turnover, and it heightens engagement. And all of this positively impacts your bottom line profitability. So would it be okay if I share a solution that we have, which is called the Mindful Caring Company System? Yes. So what's important is that we have solutions for any size organization and for every budget, because it's our mission. We're here to serve, and it's our mission to get mindful caring in as many organizations as possible, because we have seen the results that we can get when we practice mindfulness on a daily basis. So we have Mindful Caring Online Modular Training, which is self-paced, on-demand training that's available on computers. It's available on mobile devices. And it's done in micro modules, so they're 3 to 5 minutes, very easy for everyone to train. We start with the owners and the staff. And here's the training modules. Actually, here's the topic. So there's an introduction to mindful caring. Then we focus on less stress and more calm. And then a whole module on focus. So the situational awareness, right? Personal and organizational effectiveness. And then module 4, mindful listening and responding. And finally, module 5, compassion for yourself and others, which helps us with our compassion fatigue. We also offer a solution that has the online modular training and coaching. So after a 5-week training, as you saw, after every week, we would have a coaching session to actually support you and enhance your learning experience. We have an all-access module package where there's unlimited access to the modules and live review of the classes with everyone in your organization. That's a very popular package. And also on-site private training. So some of our clients prefer that actually one of our team members comes on site, either myself or one of our experts comes on site to train your company and all of your referral partners. So this can be a training as well as a marketing event. You can invite in as many people as you want for the day, and we will train them on how to bring mindfulness and mindfulness tools and practices into their workplace. And our Mindful Caring Company certification. So this is the program where you spend 10 months with me and our team. We have all of the training, we have all of the coaching, and we have all of the marketing to help you market your company as a mindful caring company and get out there in the marketplace to help differentiate yourself, again, to attract and retain the best talent. And then our Certification Plus package is everything and the on-site training. So that on-site training would then be advanced training. And we can also bring in all of our referral partners. So if you have any questions or if you want to learn more about mindfulness, here is my contact information. You can give me a call at 848-444-9296 or send me an email at laurel@mindfulcaring.net. So Anne-Lise, do we have any questions from?
Yes, we have a couple of questions, but before jumping into the questions, I wanted to really thank you for your enthusiasm and your energy. And you know, when is it when you jump on a webinar during your lunch hour and you get 5 minutes of breathing and and brain care, really? So thank you for doing that.
Yes, absolutely.
For introducing that, and for the gift also of and that's something I had seen you do before, of
Yes.
realizing the connection between being focused on your breath and how it does impact your brain. I mean, it's
Yes,
almost magical, isn't it? That something that simple
it
can have
is.
such a profound impact. So
Yes.
that's really something that is almost revolutionary to me. So thank you for sharing that, and
You're
also for
welcome.
sharing all these good data
Mhm.
about mindfulness and its business impact. And
Yes.
what I took a lot of notes while you were talking,
Huh.
and
Good.
just the great results in terms of increased productivity,
Mhm.
reduce in healthcare costs. Obviously,
Yes.
that attracts business people's attention, and it
Yes.
helps make the business case for
Exactly.
introducing something that sometimes is perceived maybe as a little fringe,
Yes.
kind of a little
Well,
out
yes.
there.
Yes. And I think, and see, that's where I think the shift has happened the last 5 years, is when you
Sure.
look at how many research study, I mean, over 8,000 research studies, and more and more and more coming out every week. I read more research studies, and it's the science behind it. So now, now that we have the science and we have the business cases and we can show the return on investment, now it just becomes a matter of making the decision, to invest, to, bring these tools to your organizations.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think for our audience here today, the fact that
Yeah.
it works not only in corporate America in general, but you
Yes.
actually have hands-on experience of working
Yes.
with clients in the home care and the home health sector, I think is very powerful.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that whenever you do something a little out of the norm, such as being a mindfulness company,
Yes.
you use that in recruitment, because of course you can use that as an edge. And so I think that's great. And
Yeah.
for those who are on the call today, of course, contact Dr. Geise if you have any questions. You also have a series of podcasts, don't you, available
Yes.
on
Yes.
YouTube? Uh,
Yes. Those are on the website. So if you go to mindfulcaring.net, you'll see the podcast there. Yes.
so one of the questions I had is,
Yes.
how does mindfulness help direct care workers? Because that's where most of the challenges
Yeah.
is happening right now in the industry. You've
Yes.
shared some of the quotes of caregivers
Yes.
saying that it gave them time to pause, reflect, etc. Do you
Yes.
want to expand a little bit in the last few minutes that we have here this afternoon?
Sure. Well, in my experience, and I have to tell you, this has really been so heart touching to me, because when we needed care for our family, I know what it takes to be a
Mhm.
home health care provider, to be a caregiver, and how much it means to those who need the care and the families. And so being able to give back, and what I experience when I'm working with companies is, the caregivers are so, more than anything, I would say, so touched that their company will invest in them. And when I say investment,
That's
this
a good
is
point. Yeah.
it's a 5 hours. It's 5 hours of training. Okay, it's 5 hours of training, and it's 1 hour a week. And they're so. That's what makes the difference. That's what I found. It's that their company is willing to make this investment in them. So it's a 5 hour investment, and these tools that they can use at work, and tools that they can use for their own personal well-being and for the well-being of their patients, and when they go home. So it's not like, we're just using this at work. It's throughout their entire life. And that's where I see the tears, and that's where I get the hugs. And it's the tears of gratitude. It's gratitude because, someone's listening, someone's paying attention, that there are these challenges of compassion fatigue, that, it takes so much effort, and to be recognized, to be valued, and to be invested in. To me, that's where I'm seeing the real difference.
Right. And we
Yeah.
know from other research outside of mindfulness that
Yeah.
investing in training for caregiver is one of the keys to retention of the direct care workers. So obviously there's some technical training such as, you know, care, dementia, those types of things. But mindfulness, I think, is another tool in the training toolbox. So as we're coming to the top of the hour here, I want to thank you so very much, Laurel, for taking time to share the mindfulness, a couple of practices, and hopefully people who are on the line today are starting to understand the benefit and will contact Laurel to see how they can make it happen in their organization. And like you said, you have a variety of products available to fit every budget and every organization size. So thank you much, and everybody have a great rest of your day. We're doing another quarterly webinar in August, and we're going to talk specifically about caregiver retention. So stay tuned for more information on that.
Thank you.
Bye for now.